Well, what did you think about the story about the story card? Number 4, when it comes to finding your first job, your next job, better job, best job, is simply this: the future belongs to the storyteller. Now, obviously, you may not be able to use a story card in every situation, but it's a very, very good thing to create, both physically, as I said, with a nice piece of cardstock, or make it nice, however you want to do it, and have the same kinds of thoughts and stories in mind wherever you are. Now, I will tell you this: I have a little bit of a signature line, and it goes like this: that the master teacher, Jesus of Nazareth, came into the world and he told stories and he asked questions. So unfortunately, most people preach sermons, give presentations, do PowerPoints, and pretend, or at least say, that they have the answers. Could it be that the master teacher knew something? Tell stories, ask questions. And that's one of the best teaching and learning methods around. And so I'm going to just simply encourage you to understand that when you walk forward and simply say, "Let me tell you a story," people pay attention. Try it out. Whenever I can, I try and answer a question with a story. Someone says, "Well, tell me what you do." And if I can, I'll simply say, "Well, with your permission, can I tell you a little story?" Or, "Let me tell you about." And if I can bring them into a story mode, not only are we speaking to people intellectually, but it tends to engage them. We are wired for stories. That's who we are. And perhaps if you're paying attention, there's a whole series of lectures and seminars, and we're doing that right now in some of the work we're doing, teaching business people how to sell and persuade and influence others through the power of storytelling. And some of these seminars and workshops are being done at the highest levels in some of the capitals of the world, where CEOs and other significant people are being challenged to get off of the data deal and start learning how to tell stories. And so you need to become a storyteller. Read about it. Watch some videos about it. Learn a little bit about how you can tell a good story. And if you want to, I have a number of references and recommendations that I can give you. And so why don't you let me know your particular desire about that, and I'll help you. Now, in your story card, as I said, I want you to have at least 4 things. And I'm going to give you a few more, but here are the 4 things at least that you need to have. First of all, you just simply begin with your story. You know, my name is Stan, and I have been a broadcaster all of my life. Ever since I was a small child, I wanted to be on the radio. So I was a ham radio operator. I always would pretend to be radio. I would love to visit radios, whatever it can be. Now, let's look at this. Perhaps you're a new college graduate and you say, "I have just graduated from the university, and I have no business experience whatsoever. However, I have always enjoyed, I've looked forward to learning about. Something has always fascinated me." Now, you're bringing it into a real truth telling. Why try to pretend you have experience and try and pad it with something that makes you look like you have experience when deep down, just tell the truth. I don't have any business experience, you know. However, these are the things that I have done and can do. So the first thing you begin is just introduce yourself in a way that makes you truthfully interesting. Shows a little bit of your curiosity, perhaps a little touch of your creativity. All right? That's the first thing. Have that. Now, the second thing is a little bit about what you have learned from school and work. Now, oftentimes in the resume, you'll have to have your formal education. You know what? Do you really care what high school I graduated from, or what college I graduated from? Maybe even the fact that I've got a doctorate degree from this. Is that what is really important to people? Not likely. And what does that say? Now, you can say, I learned from graduating from this university this. When I was in high school, I particularly was fascinated by the subject of. How can you take your educational lists and some of the things you have done and make them into a story? This is what I've learned. Here's a summary of what I have learned and work I have done. You know, my friend Rick simply put down that he has a master's degree in the School of Hard Knocks. He put a little humor into it, which went right along with the story. So, give me a summary, a little bit of a story of what you have learned and how you learned it. If you were in the armed forces, what did you learn? And see, that does give you a power to take some of the stuff that's on a bullet point in a resume and give it a little more flavor and interest. Okay, number 3. Now, simply say this. This is what I love to do, and this is what I'm good at. Just simply help me understand what you can do well. Now, maybe that's a better way of phrasing it. You decide. These are the things that I do well. If you want to kind of qualify it and say, I believe these are my top skills and abilities. These are the things I can do well that may help you. See, oftentimes what happens in that resume, look, I got to try and figure out what this person does well. A lot of the stuff on some of those resumes, I don't even understand what it's about because it's about some industry, practice or procedure that I may not even be familiar with. Tell me what you can do well. Make it quick, summarize it, give it a touch of seriousness, but a touch of lightness. Tell me what you can do well. Now, number 4 is really important. Remember I said that the resume was about the past? Now, tell me how you believe you can help my business, my organization, my enterprise do well in the future. Tell me how you can help me. Perhaps you know a little bit about me. Perhaps you know a little bit about my company. Be clear. Show me that you're thinking not about the past, but the fact that you have thought about how you can help people do well in the future. See how that can work? Now, the fact that you put this together in a card not only means that it's on a card that you can pass out and distribute and perhaps put on your Facebook or website or whatever else you're trying to make sure is clean, but it means it's also become a part of you. And so when you are in what some people call an interview, but by the way, we'll give that a different term, it just kind of flows naturally because you've already thought it through. You've put it to paper, you've committed it to thought, and now it'll come much more naturally to you. Now there's some other things that you may include on your story card. One of the people that has done this was very effective in simply saying this is what I believe. Now this was not a religious statement, it was just kind of a statement about their philosophy of life and business. This is what I believe. And it was compelling. They talked about their deep commitment to honesty and customer service. Some of the things that they really believed would be important to share with the person. I don't know. In today's world, we're finding out that more and more references don't work because people are afraid to ask for references and people are afraid to give them in any other way because of all of the litigation and lawsuits that go on. So people right now are rather suspicious of, quote, references. In fact, I have found in talking to many CEOs and other business leaders is that they have found that that's more trouble than it's worth. However, on your story card, perhaps you don't use a word reference, you use the word recommendation. There may be some people who just simply recommend you on the quality of your character or something that is important to helping people be well in their life and work. Then, and you may do this, you may request an audition. You might say something like this: I would be honored if you'd allow me to perform in such a way, to audition for the opportunity, to show you and demonstrate to you what I can do. Now, did you see the difference? Now, if you want to use the word interview, but that's a word people say, no. Just think about, and we'll talk about that, audition for an opportunity. Those are some of the new things about telling stories, having a story card, and being able to demonstrate how you can be much more interesting, compelling by telling your story. Well, there's more to that, because that was a little bit of a performance, and as I promised, in our next thing you need to know, we're going to be talking about learning a little bit about being a performer in this new 21st century economy.